Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean Unboxing. Once again, David Benavidez, clout chasing Canelo Alvarez. This is the guy that literally, potentially could have put himself in position for a Canelo Alvarez fight. He could have actually worked with Turki Al-Sheikh and not disparaged actually the events and the fights that Turkey's putting on, which is exactly what he's done. He could have went with the plan that was put in place by Turkey, which would have been for him to fight Smith on the undercard of Beterbiev Bivol 3, putting him in line for the undisputed unification light heavyweight world title against the winner. But no, he chose to walk away from that because he's a Vegas fighter and he doesn't want to fight in Saudi Arabia, even though you're not going to get paid the money in Vegas that you'd get paid to go to Saudi Arabia. The whole point is, it's like when you work. Maybe some people, they're ignorant, they never actually had a job or they never actually left their country. See, when you have a job and your company sends you overseas to do your work on a project, you get paid far more money because of the inconvenience. The fact that you need to live outside your country, the fact that you need to travel somewhere else and deal with this transition. This pays you more money. This is a similar situation with what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now. Sure, you get paid good money from Turki Al-Sheikh if he does events in your country, but you're gonna make far more money if you actually go to Saudi Arabia and perform for the Saudi people, right? But he walked away from that. He wasn't interested in doing that. So he rather try to get a WBC baby belt, an interim belt, a bullshit belt, an email belt, basically showing you the corruption in the sport of boxing, that these sanctioning bodies would rather supersede the situation that's in play to undermine it, to perpetuate and push somebody who's promoted by someone they're in bed with, who obviously pays them money under the table to do what they want for their promotional company. PBC. So, now, this guy's desperately looking for an opponent. Because who is he going to fight at 175 that has an affiliation with the PBC? The two biggest potential opponents he could fight would be Smith and Anthony Yarde, neither of whom have anything to do with the PBC, both UK fighters. If you really want to generate the most income in either one of those two fights, you would need to go to the UK to fight them. Because, believe it or not, Smith and Yarde's fan base in the UK is far bigger than David Benavidez's fan base in the United States. But right now they're trying to negotiate to get Smith to come over to the States to do a fight with David Benavidez, even though this was a fight that Turkey already offered you, and offered you for sure more money than you're going to generate by pulling Smith over and doing a pay-per-view in the United States, because no one in the States gives a shit about Smith. He's not a big draw in the States. David Benavidez isn't a big draw in the States. So a pay-per-view with those two, you'd be lucky if you do 250,000 buys. Lucky if you do 250,000 buys. Your money would have been guaranteed to fight in Saudi Arabia on the undercard. And you would have been guaranteed an undisputed unification fight. And if you won that, the possibility of then doing a Canelo Alvarez fight would have exponentially improved, because now you're the undisputed light heavyweight champion, right? This is something that could motivate Canelo to actually fight you now. Now, literally, you have something worth fighting for. Because when you've been clout chasing and calling out Canelo Alvarez, you haven't had anything. You haven't had any belts. Canelo's the one that got all the belts in the division. He unified them, working in different promotional companies, working with every promoter to put those belts in his pocket, where you didn't have anything except the ability to call him out social media, clout chase him consistently to try to hype up your fights, even you're fighting mediocre opponents a lot of the time, and just using his name to try to sell your event. We saw how that worked, not that well. And even now today, you're still clout chasing him, projecting that possibly, maybe at the end of his 4-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh, they'll make this fight. But you walked away from it. You literally put a divide between you and your team working with Turki Al-Sheikh. So if Turki Al-Sheikh refused to work with you and your team moving forward, who would be surprised? Who would be surprised if he never wanted to work with Tank Davis or David Benavidez or any PBC fighter that the PBC sort of holds on this PBC island type of thing that they do? Why would he want to deal with you guys? You're more trouble than you're worth. You could already be in line for that Smith fight. Now, it's projected that maybe in October the fight will happen. But for Smith, he doesn't need to take that fight in the States. He could continue to work with Turki Al-Sheikh, continue to fight in the UK, have his next fight against a low-level opponent in Liverpool, make big money because Liverpool Cop Stadium will fill out, against a mid-tier opponent to defend his interim WBO title and be guaranteed an undisputed fight with the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. Why does he need to fight you? If the fight happens, don't get me wrong, it's a great fight. I would say it's probably one of the 3 best fights in David Benavidez' career. But let's keep this real. When Canelo fought Smith, who was a world champion, to unified titles, people gave Canelo very little credit, and they still don't give him much credit. So how much credit do you want to give David Benavidez?